Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So, what I will do today, I will talk about screen flow. So, as you know, that we are doing the flow series, right? Now, why do we need a screen flow, right? Obviously, you might have heard so many times flows are often useful when you're doing automation. Now, automation is helpful, uh, but that doesn't mean that automation does not involve any user interaction, right? It could be an automation which happens behind the scene, like a background process, or it could be an automation which needs some sort of user input, right? Or if you wanted to build a different UI to drive a certain business process, right? That could be one reason. If you wanted to have more user interaction, you can custom build a flow, right? There are different ways you can drive that. You can even go with LWC route, but let's assume that you're not very comfortable with LWC for the sake of argument. And let's also assume you're not very comfortable with Omni Studio. Obviously, I do know that Omni Studio is in great demand, and a lot of people are talking about it. But that being said, right, based on my personal experience, I still believe Flows does a pretty good job in automating a lot of things on the Salesforce ecosystem, right? You can build a lot of amazing stuff using Flows, right? You don't really need to use Omni Studio, right? So what I'll do today, I will demonstrate a very simple scenario, which is very, very simple. The scenario is, right, I wanted to drive a user onboarding experience. So what that means is that I will have a screen where I will say, welcome to user onboarding. Please click next to continue, right? Then you will have an option. Are you what kind of customer you are? Are you a commercial one or you're individual one? If you're a commercial one, then obviously I will create a business account. If you're a individual one, I'll create a personal account. That's pretty much it. So, and once the flow is built, in the next episode, we'll look at what's the best way we can improve it, what's the mistake we have done. That's I think since it's a flow series, right? It's better I demonstrate using doing things rather than just talking about it, because this way you will understand better. Because theory is useful, right? Just to understand certain part of certain things. But when it comes to flow, it's all hands-on, right? Okay, so now obviously you might have seen few new things that's perhaps or you may have. That is, if you go to okay, let me get to the flow side first, right? Then we'll talk about it. So to do a flow or to create a flow, you go to this Gecko icon and go to the setup, and obviously you can type flow here. Right now you can see you go here to create a flow. Now there's a beta version here. That's the automation home, where you can see peak, post, flow intervals, total flow intervals without UI, total flows, interviews with UI, right? And then you have an option called paused and failed flow interviews, where you can actually look at this is an old one, but this is automation home is the new one, right? Now, the thing here, right? There are a few things you can do here, right? If you can also create flows from here, you can do the next best action, and you can also do the approval process. So, a couple of things, interesting things, exciting things you can drive from here, right? Okay, so in this episode, we will focus specifically on flows, right? That's the screen flows. Now, what I'll do, I'll go to flows here, right? Or you can, like I said, you can do from here, but I wanted to take it through the conventional route, which most of us will do. You go to new flow. Now, obviously, you have an option to start from scratch, or you can use an existing template. Now, what is a template, right? Let's say you're creating a flow and you wanted to reuse that specific flows, over and over, right? So you can save that as a template, and so next time when you try to build a flow, you can use that template and build on top of it. So that's an advantage, and it's like obviously, if you are coming from a programming background, we don't really have inheritance concept in flows, right? because it's a drag and drop UI tool. But consider template is something similar to that. You have a parent template, and using that parent template, you can inherit and build other stuff, right? And one thing with the flow, I just wanted to mention that as we move along, I will be talking about some of the design patterns, because obviously, dragging and dropping the component on the canvas is not really the important part. Important part is how do you design your flow, right? Is it in alignment with a right design principle, right? Because obviously having a right design principle is important. Then the reason why the reason why it is important, because you can maintain your flows, you can enhance your flow without breaking the existing flow, right? If you do not have a design pattern in place, you will end up in writing a spaghetti flow, and spaghetti flow will lead to flow smell, and flow smell leads to a tech debt, and tech debt leads to a lot of money that's get wasted to fix a bug, right? If that makes sense. All right, so let's start from a scratch. Now, like I said, today I'm going to talk about ScreenFlow. So we will pick ScreenFlow. And so what's the requirement, right? Obviously, I said the requirement is um, to to build a screen to onboard a user. User in the sense onboard a business or an individual account, right? So the first thing first, when a user click on this flow or a button or whatever initiate this flow, it should see a user onboarding screen, which means we need a screen. So obviously you have auto layout. If you don't want auto layout, you can do the free form. That's up to you, right? Whichever form you like. It's up to you whichever form you like, right? I mean, some people prefer auto layout. Like I prefer either way, either one, right? So let's assume auto layout, because that's what you get as a default when you try to create a flow. So obviously Salesforce would have thought this is the better way. Okay, that's fine. So what I'll do, um, normally, in this case, I use this interface. Well, this is your canvas here. Okay, so before I get into any more detail, right, I'm pretty sure you would have seen this good looking canvas here where you have select elements. You can see this here. If you unclick. I don't know why I'm talking in the language of a touchscreen. I've been playing a lot of a lot of stuff on the tablet today, so maybe that's why. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Then you have, you can bring it to here, or if you don't want there, you can keep it here. Or yeah, if we can, and then these other options will get enabled. These hidden buttons, not hidden, sorry, read-only buttons. So yeah, that's not much to talk about on this canvas. So let's dive into the real stuff, right? So obviously, like I said, I need to create a screen. So I'll click here and I'll go to the screen. And this is where the magic happens, right? Where you add all your components. Now, this is the canvas where you drag and drop all your components. Now, I address these things as components because this is like a widget, or in other words, like in Flutter, if you worked with Flutter, everything is a widget there, right? So let's stick to component, right? So you have a lot of things here. You have action button, which is in beta, action plan template, add visitors, address. You can add address, budget, call script, cancel appointment, checkbox. Now, you must be thinking, why am I seeing all these options, right? That's because I'm still using PSS, demo org, free 30 days trial org. That's why you're seeing some of the stuff, right? So, but some of them you will see that anyways, like address, you can see that action button. That's the beta one. I will talk about it later. Not in this episode though, but it's important that you guys know. Date and time, date, pick list, email, file upload. These are pretty basic. Flex cards. Now, uh, I did mention about the Omni Studio, right? When I started this lecture today. So if you have an Omni Studio, like if you got a Flex card, you can embed the Flex card on the flow as well. So it's very flexible. You can also embed your LWC on top of it. Now you have multi-select pick list, you have name, you have numbers, your password. If you're using a, if you're gathering a password from a user, you have a password option here. Then yeah, and then you have a custom. If you have LWC, you can use that here, right? Okay, so what we need here, we need a text, and so I will put it as a display text here, and here I will say, um, what do I? Okay, so this one, let me name it as. I will say intro screen, right? Always good to put the description, introduction, main screen, whatever you want to put, and configure. Before we get into this stuff, right? So this is the header. Now it's up to you if you want to display the header. Let's say if you're not interested to display the header, I can say, hide the header. Now here, where the magic happens, this is the screen, intro, display, text, right? Now you can type welcome to user on boarding. Please click next to continue, right? I mean, some dummy text, right? Now I can make it bigger. Let's say I wanted 18. I wanted to make it bold, and I wanted to make it center, right? Okay, so that looks okay, right? I mean, it's not fancy, but it does the job. Now, you must be thinking, what is this pause and previous and next? I don't want previous, right? Why do you user have to go to previous when there's no screen, right? So we can fix that. That's under footer. You come here. Now you got a lot of options here. Now, if you don't want to show footer, you can turn it off, but that's not what we want because we want user to proceed further. Now, you next to finish button. So obviously, I'm not going to finish it here, right? I want to go next. So what I'll do, I will put next. Yeah, I'll change it to next. And obviously, I use the custom label to do that. And the previous button, I don't want a previous button because we're not going back. So I will hide previous. And I don't want to pause it, so I will hide the pause. Yep, sounds good, right? Done. So we have one screen that's done. Okay, so now what I'll do, I might as well go and save it. So always make sure you put the meaningful name. So I would say user onboarding flow. My spelling sucks. I've been, throughout my journey from a kid to adulthood, I've been I suck in every language, right? I speak like 6 languages, and I suck in every language. I'm not good with language except the computer language, right? That's the one I'm good at. But human interaction language, the way I put it, right? Yeah. Anyways, um, so user onboarding flow, right? Always make sure you have a description. Now, if you want, you can look at advanced, how to run a flow, user system context. You can do that. System context with sharing if you want. System contact with access all data. So this is a very important function. If you do not want user to access all the data, then this is not a good option whatsoever, because then, and if you want the user to run with sharing, then I would recommend to do that. That means the data you have access to will you can able to do stuff on it. Now, for now, I will keep it all data just to keep it simple, right? Now it's a type. You can't change the type here. Why would you change it, right? Now it's a template if you're doing a template. So like I said, right, remember I mentioned in the beginning, you can save your flow as a template. If you wanted to do that, you just need to tick it, right? And I'm not going to do that. and I will keep everything as such, right? I don't want it to worry about it. So let's keep it simple, right? Okay, so now we have intro screen. Okay, now what we need another screen where user have an option to select the type of customer. Yeah, so I'll do that and I will say customer type selection. Okay, I'll copy that. This is what I normally do. And then I enhance it and I wanted to do a description, right? Now, obviously, I do not want to have a header here. I will close it. And now what I obviously want a pick list, right? Where the user can, where user have an option to select two options, right? One is um, commercial, one is individual. So I will drag and drop a pick list component here. I don't know, I want a multi-pick list because I want an individual option here. Yeah. So I'll come here. Now I will say customer type. Yep. And it's mandatory. Obviously, it's a data type is text. Now it's a component. Now add a choice. Now I'm going to add a choice resource. Now we got different choice, right? Now I'm after a very simple pick list option, right? So what I'll do, I'll create a choice and I will say commercial, um, and I'll put it here. Yeah, not much fuss. And I'll put it here, not much fuss. Sounds good, right? And I add one more choice and I will say individual. Yep, individual, and I'll put it here. Okay. Well, sorry, my bad. Okay. All right. So we sorted that and I made it mandatory. If when you do this option called require, right, what it will do, you cannot proceed further with the next or finish without adding some value to it. That's why you can see the red option here. Now, I wanted to configure this footer, right? Because it's annoying. Like I said, I've already configured a header where I've decided I do not need a header. Now, next to finish button, so I will say I want next. It's over simple. Ritual, as you know. Pause button, I don't want it to pause, so I'll hide it. Yeah, sounds good. Nice and easy. Okay, now what we got here? We got two screen components on a canvas where one, okay, let's drive the behavior, right? Let's see, I wanted to save it, right? Now, what I normally do, right, when I'm building a flow, whatever I built so far, I test it. Now, I don't need to activate or I don't need to put my flow anywhere to test it. There is a beautiful functionality which you can do using flow. That's the debug, right? So I click on debug. It's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah. So it's basically, it will give you all the instructions, what's happening behind the scene. Now I'll show you what I mean. If I do run, you can see on the right side, right? This detail is very important. It will tell you if something goes wrong, if something is not working, right? And I'll do next, right? Now we see that screen started, and now I can see both the component, right? And if I do next, it says finish because there's nothing further, right? So my two screens are working fine. They are connected very well. So that's good, right? So we are good so far. Now, obviously, we need to build a logic, right, to um, create an account. So what I'll do, I will create something called decision element, which is more like a if else element. So create uh, decision decide to create commercial or individual account, right? Now I will make sure I have a description. Description is very important, guys, right? Because the reason why it's important, let's say you're on a holiday, if someone else wants to debug your flow, at least they will know what this thing is about, right? Otherwise it gets very confusing, right? I will say commercial account. So what we do, we are going to do if you, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do an state condition to say, hey, if the user has selected, say, commercial from a pick list, then I want to create a, say, a business account. If the user have selected, let's say, individual, I wanted to create a person account. I hope that's clear. So now, obviously, I need to access that specific pick list. Now, how do you do that? So we have intro screen, which is an introduction screen where you have seen, welcome to onboarding, whatever, right? And then we have customer type selection. This is what I'm after. Equals commercial, right? If you have commercial, then do this. Otherwise, I would say individual. Let's say, um, so commercial account. So what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to um, uh, commercial, bloody spelling. Okay, so if you're selecting commercial, then this part of the decision will activate it, otherwise this part, right? Because right now we only have two conditions. So that's why I let the decision to default decision as an individual. Let's assume you have three clock conditions here. Then you have to create another one here, right? So now which we don't need it. So that's good. Now I'll save it and I close it. Okay, now what we need here, um, we obviously need to create an account. Now, before we create an account, we obviously need to get the record types, right? Because now, how do I know what record types we have in our org? For that, for let's say for a specific account, now it's pretty simple. You can go to your developer console, you go here, and you go to developer console. Because I obviously need to know what's the name of the record type, right? And what are we trying to get? So you can say query editor, and then you can say select developer name is active from record type, where s object type equals to account. Obviously I spelled it correctly, right? So record type is an object which stores information about the record types which you create in an object, right? Obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys know what record types are. Now, and it's very important to check the active status as well. So that's why I did developer name. So we got one here, right? One is the business account and personal account. That's what we're after. Now, I need to fetch this information in the flow so that I can get an ID, right? Now, how do I do that? It's pretty simple, right? Now, you must be wondering, where will I put that get component? Do I put it here or do I put it here? Now, you can put it on both places, but that's a very bad practice. If you put it here, that means you're calling a query uh, when the commercial account happened, and you're calling a query when the individual account happened. Obviously, you can say that it's not going to happen both at the same time, right? Because there's an if else condition. But the problem is you're duplicating the get record in both the place. Instead, what I normally recommend, you put it here so that you have that single component. Look, when you are building a flow, certain things you need to pay attention, right? That's something I will talk about in the next episode. Let's focus on a simple thing now, right? some of the best practices, the best way you can improve the flow, what we have done, something like that, right? Get record. So get record type. Um, and we have record type. And what I'm after is that S object type equals to account. Is active equals to true. Yeah, sounds good. Now I want all the records automatically uh, store all the fields. Or if you do not want, let's say I don't want to store all the fields. I want to choose my fields, right? So what all fields I need is active. Yeah. I need developer name. I mean, usually it's not a good idea. It's not a good practice to get every field when you're not using it, right? And I want a subject type. Yeah, that's pretty much I'm after. Yeah, so I will save and I will close it. So what we got here, so we got two screen, we got the get record type. Now, obviously we need a record type, right? So, but the problem is this record is a collection. It contains two records. So the best way, so what we can do, we can either create a loop, right? And then inside the loop, um, you can create a if condition to segregate, but I won't go for that. Instead, what I'll do, I will use something called collection filter. Now, collection filter, there is a bug in the collection filter, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And you tell me if you have experienced this scenario or not, right? Okay, so what I'll do, this is the commer commercial filter, I would say. And I will say commercial filter to extract business account ID. Yeah, so this one here. And what I'm after is developer name equals to, so now what developer name I should put here. So that's the reason why I did a SQL query here. Now, obviously commercial, when I mean by commercial, I'm talking about business account. So I will after the business account and I'll put it here. Yeah, nice and easy. Okay. Now, what I'll do, I will go here. I'll create another filter. Look, there are different ways you can do that, right? I mean, if you think, just let me know if you are building it, how would you do it, right? So I'm always keen to know, right? Like there is a like like my grandmother used to say, there are different ways you can cook a chicken, right? It's not only one way. Yeah, like you can, like for instance, you can deep fry a chicken, you can bake a chicken, you can make a stew out of it, you can make a curry out of it, um, you can grill it, right? You can barbecue it, you can do whatever you want, right? You can mash it and make a skewer out of it, right? So you know what I'm trying to say, right? It's a different ways you can eat a chicken, but at the end of the day, you're eating a chicken. Similarly, there are different ways you can filter the record. At the end result, what we're trying to get is we're trying to find an ID, right? So I hope that's clear. And my apologies if my analogy sucks, right? I'm not very good in giving this analogy. Always turns out to be some stupid one. Anyways, my individual filter, individual filter to get person account ID, right? Um, Now you see, now you got two collection filter here. Now you can filter the filter, right? If you wanted to filter the commercial filter, you can do that as well, but we're not after, because obviously the get record type contains two record types. So we already filtered the one, and now I wanted to filter the second. So What we do, developer name equals person account. I actually love doing flows, right? I'm a pretty hands-on guy, right? You know, my day-to-day job does not involve hands-on, right? I don't like, once my boss said, "You're not a doer in this company. You're an architect. Your role is to build a pipeline for work. You have to strategic planning." Which is great, but sometimes I get an opportunity to build a POC, and I love doing stuff. Right, when I get an opportunity to do hands-on, I never say no because that's such a great opportunity. When you are building a POC, you'll get to know what developer can build, right? And POC always helps you as an architect to understand what is possible and what's not possible, right? Okay. Okay, let's move on. So what we've built so far, we have built two screen. I did a get record type, now filtered it, and I've also did a condition. So now let's test if it works or not, right? So I do debug, and I do next. Obviously, you said, you click the next button, you do this. Now I will do commercial. I'll do next. Right. Now pay attention here, right? So we got the first screen. I'm sorry, not the first screen. This is the first screen. Then we got the second screen. Then we are doing a get record. Successfully found records, which is good. Then we use the filter. Now, obviously, we created two filters. So the filter um, object contains records. So the first one contains your business account ID. The second one contains your person account ID. And it fired your decision as well to go to the commercial one. So it works, whatever we built. Now, what we need in this stage, we need an account object because I want to make sure in both the scenarios, I'm storing an account value in an account object, and that account object, I can pass it to a create record. Now, if that sounds too confusing, I'll show you what I meant by that. So now I'll go to, no, I'll go here, and I create a new resource, and I got the resource type, and I will say account object. You can call whatever you want, right? You can call account placeholder if you want. So that's up to you. So that's a record, and I will say account. Um, Obviously, I'm not dealing with multiple accounts. I'm dealing with single. So I'm not gonna make it as a collection. I'll do done. So I've created a account object here. Now what I want is to come here and assign the value assignment. Now assign account commercial account. Okay. So in commercial account, normally what we have account object, and I need a name, and the name equals to, yeah. Now you must be thinking, that is great, but where do I get the name from? Right? That is a very good question because we haven't created a screen to capture the name, right? So I'll close this. I'll keep it as such. Now, before we even get to this stage, we need another screen here. So what we do, we go screen here, and I'll do here, um, commercial account, uh, screen. I'll just put screen. Okay, I'll copy the name here. I need to configure header. I don't want header. I mean, if you want to show the help text on each field, you can do that. It's useful for customer, but I'm not going to do that at this stage. Um, that is something we can talk about when I do the next episode, the things which you can improve, right? So I wanted to keep it for that. If I do everything, it's going to get confusing, right, in the one video. Next, a finish button. So I wanted to say next. Yep. And previous button. Yes, I want previous. I want to hide a pause button, right? Now I wanted to drag and drop the component. Now what component we want? We want to capture text, we want to capture the phone number. So let's see what we got. Got text here. Now let's say account name, and I'll make it read only. Sorry, not read only, I want it true. And I'll also use the phone to capture the the text to capture the phone. You can use different data type, but just I wanted to keep it simple for now, right? So we got this. It's very good. Now I'll save it. Now that is for the commercial account. Now when it comes to an individual account, obviously person account, the most important thing is the last name, right? So it's a little bit different. So we need a screen here as well. Now I'll do screen, and I will say individual account, and okay, screen. We need to make the naming convention consistent. Convention, sorry. And I'll go configure header. I do not want header. It's not that I have got any allergy towards the header, but I just wanted to keep it simple. Next. Can we hide the previous? No, we had this one. Okay. Now what we after here? Text button. Sorry, not text button. Text field. Goodness sake, sometimes I get confused. Okay, first name. I need it. The last name. Oh no. Oh no, man. Not done this one. I need the last name. Okay. I need it, and the phone number. We're keeping very simple information, not much. Phone number. Now here I'll change phone number individual. Ideally, I should have put the phone number commercial there. So what I'll do, I will go and quickly change this to com. Just to make it consistent, right? Okay, so now what we got here, we got two screen, right? Now let's come to this one where we are assigning the value to an account object, right? Now you must be wondering, what shall I assign here? We got something to assign. Now what we do, we go to account name somewhere. We got account name, right? That's what we wanted to assign. Now I wanted to assign account object phone number, and we say phone, say commercial. Okay, now another important thing what we need here is a record ID. Now let's see. Now this is where I've seen the problem comes. I'll show you record type ID. Now obviously I have a filter sitting here. Remember I've done the filter here at the top, this one. So what I'll do, I will run commercial and I say ID. Yeah. Okay. And I will save it. And now what we do, let's run this let's debug this flow to see if it's working, if you're getting a right value in an account object, just to make sure that the flow is flowing through. Yeah. Then if it's all working fine, then I'll replicate the similar stuff here, and then I'll do some more stuff. Okay, we'll do debug here, um, and do next, do next. I'll do commercial, right? That's what I'm after. I would say Peter Society, Peter Cohen Society, whatever, right? I don't care, just a dummy name. Okay, so I'll do next. Okay, let's see what's happening. There is a problem here. Now, pay attention to the here and pause the video for a second and see what's the problem here. I'll tell you if you couldn't figure out. Now look at we got an object name, that's a Peter Society. We got a phone here, but we got a record type null. You must be wondering, what's happening there? If you go back, you got a collection filter. We do have a record type ID. Now, why are we not getting an ID here? Now, this is, I mean, I don't know, I've seen this issue before. Have you seen this issue before? If you have, just let me know. So, as a workaround, what I normally did, I don't know, or maybe I missed something. It's a look, you got a collection filter here, right? And it contains a value. Now, when you access, and it contains just a single record, it does not work, right? Maybe it expects you to loop it, right? So let's do a loop, yeah, which is a pretty stupid thing to do. I bring it here, I create a loop, and what I'll do, I'll have to create a resource. The resource name I do commercial ID, commercial, or I would say com record type, right? Goodness sake. Okay, and the data model text, yeah, done. Okay, now what I'll do, I will say com loop, yeah, looping through commercial data set to get the record type ID, yeah, collection variable, which one? Record type from commercial filter, first to last. Fantastic, right? Save it here, here. I'll assign it. Obviously, because like I said, right, I was trying to get the value directly, and since it contained just a single record, for some reason it was not working. Or, hang on a second. Let me write it down. Assign com record type ID. It's com. What the heck is that? Record type ID. Now you will see current loop from here, because we are looping through the ID and ID here. Yeah. Save. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, I put a loop inside to just make it smaller. I put a loop inside to get the ID, right, from a filter. Now let's see if I can do something different here, if it's possible. What if I do something like that? Is it possible? Is it possible? Let's try it out, right? Because I'm trying to show you different scenarios to make you understand, make you troubleshoot stuff, right? Because that's the whole point, right? You will come across different things, different stuff, right? Now, I'll save it. Okay, let's debug it, right? Now, obviously, you have now two scenarios here. I'm trying to get the record type ID uh, f- from a collection filter using a loop. And another place, I'm trying to get the record type ID from a collection filter without using a loop. Instead, I'm passing an index of the record. Okay, let's see what happens. Peter, Cone Society. Okay, now, okay, you got none. You got none, right? You pretty much got none. So even here, you got none. Okay, how about, but you can see here, you got the value here when we ran a loop, right? So we are getting a value here. So the loop is working fine. Okay, how about, I love to troubleshoot, right? That's something I enjoy doing, right? I mean, if you are a programmer, I mean, I'm in programming. Um, when I was, I think, when my dad bought me that old uh, used computer, when I was 10, I started with the basic. Um, I don't know if this works. Maybe not. Maybe yes. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, we do one more thing, and then I'm trying out all the syntax, right? Because, like I said, I don't like to, give up on stuff, right? Because it doesn't work. So, um, so all we got is this dude value, which is not great, right? So that didn't work, which is fine, and didn't care. One last try. I don't think so it's gonna work, but anyway, I love to try either way. Good commercial. Next, Peter. Yep, didn't work. No problem. Instead, what we do, I will do that. What's the value? I put com record type something, right? Some value. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'll save it and I move on. Okay, now we need something similar here. So what I'll do, I will put a loop because I'm now trying to build the individual record. So what did I say? Individual loop and individual loop to filter to extract person account record type. Yep, makes sense, right? Okay, record type from filter, and I'll save it. Okay, now I'll close it. Now I'm going to do new resource. We're going to do variable individual record. Oh, goodness sake. Type ID. Okay, data type, text. I'm not really concerned about anything else here. And I will do some assignment operation here. And what I'll do, Sorry, not here. Come on, hang on. Where is this boy gone? Here. Okay, now let that assignment operator be there. So this is what I want. I want to assign individual record type ID. I got here. What are we looking for? Individual record type ID equals to what we're looking for. Loop, right? What loop? They're looking for this one. We're looking for ID, this type, right? Save it and I close it. Okay, now we got this, right? Now what we do, because assignment of individual account object. Yeah, heck's sake. Okay. Now we haven't done that. We still got a little bit more to go, but stay with me. We're nearly finished. If you're getting bored, account we're going to do the last name, because remember that this is a person account, so obviously we need a the last name, which is very mandatory. Account object. Now what we after? Phone. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I don't know why the error was there at the top, but now what we after? Record type, right? Hopefully, I believe this session is useful to you guys, because I'm just showing you how I build flows, right? I mean, flows are pretty simple to do. And I appreciate the fact that some people do say, hey, look, it's a little bit difficult, but I understand. No problem. I am here to, give you instruction in a very simple way so that you can find this session valuable and you can apply this in your day-to-day Salesforce job. Yeah, if you're building flows. Okay, now we got all the good things here, and now I have filtered. So what I've done, right? So I've created a loop to get the ID, right, the record type ID, and then I'm filling out the account object, which is a record I've created here, right? In this case here, in this case here. Now, you might be wondering why I'm filling twice, right? Is there any risk of, I'm getting one overriding another? That's not going to happen because this is a if condition. It's not, combined. It's or, right? If this happens or this happens, right? There is no and, if that makes sense, right? So I filled the account object. Now, obviously, I need to create an account, right? Now you can do, like some people, what they do, instead of assigning this account object, they create an account directly here, and they create an account directly here. You could do that, but that is like duplicating a create record entry, right? Which is not really good practice. So now you do create record here. You can do create record. Sorry, create account. My bad. Create account. And are we creating one or creating multiple? So like I said, from a record variable, right? So I'm using record variable. Or if you don't want record variable, you can manually create here, which I'm not doing. So I'm going to use a record variable here. I'll save it. And obviously, this will create an account, right? Now, But I do need to say thank you to the user, right? All the step is done just to ensure that something happened, right? So what I'll do, I'll create a screen and I will say thank you. Now, obviously, I don't want people to go back. And in this case, what I'll do, I will hide, um, you know, the previous one, and I will also hide the past one. This is just to make sure that once the process is done, there's no going back, right? And now I'll do text and to say thank you. I'll just say thank you, text, thank you. Right, I'll just make it bigger. 18, this one, and center. Okay. Now, pretty simple flow, right? And I know that's lots going on and it might be intimidating if you're doing this for the first time, but this is how you build a screen flow, right? This is how you build the onboard experience. Let's test everything, right? Let me save it and let me do a debug, right? This is how we test it to see if it's working fine. And let's do a real test, right? I wanted to do a commercial type and I'll do next. And let's do the Peter Cohen, right? That's fine. I'll use the same phone number. Okay, so that's created. And I'll do finish. Okay, now let's do the individual one. And I'll do customer type, individual. Now you see the screen getting changed. You see the screen getting changed, right? Now I'll say Dave. Not Dave, right? I'll put something else. I'll just put Leor Cohen. Whatever name I wanted to put, right? Right. So now what does that mean, right? Is there any error? You can look at this. There is no error. Everything got created. Now, how do you check it? It's pretty simple, right? Go to the list view. Aha, there is a Leora comment I just created just now. Come on. For whatever reason, it's okay. That's there. And we have the Peter Cohen. Now, just to see if it's different, you can pretty much see here, go to the details. You see, that's an account name. It's a little bit different, right? So this is a business account, that's a person account. So that really worked. Now what I'll do, I'll go and activate it so that next time we can see how to use it somewhere else, right? Maybe using a button or something. So that's how you can create a flow. I hope that this session is useful. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this episode. And the next episode, we can look at some of the best practices we can do, how to improve what we got here, and other stuff. Right. So that being said, hope you guys have an amazing Friday. Adios.